Without further ado, I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll pass you over to EY.
Woohoo! I'm going to share my screen, which invariably takes a while. I upgraded my computer recently just to be able to run Teams properly.
I'm glad you're going to share your screen though, EY. Because if you weren't, I'd be panicking.
Well, you could just look at me talking. Right. So, can someone confirm that they can see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got you.
Brilliant. I always ask somebody to do it because the big red line around it just doesn't mean anything at all. So, I'm going to be talking about better customer service operations. I'm actually taking a slightly new format for this, that without putting lots of text there, I'm going to put some graphics up there. And this is really about empowering a holistic omni-channel customer service team. Some big words there. As Paddy said, I talk quite a bit about omni-channel. I did a massive series last year. It's gone a bit quiet at the moment because I'm waiting for some new stuff to be released by Microsoft. But omnichannel basically is about empowering your agents to be able to handle things from all directions. Omni is from the Greek omnis. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because 72% of companies have lousy customer service experience. It's really crap when you speak to them around it, when you call up. Also, on an interesting note, 83% of statistics are absolutely false. I'll let you decide which one of those statements is true or not. So a bit about myself. Glory slide. So my name is EY Kalman. I am a solution architect for Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. When I'm asked, do I do one or the other, I say both. It's the right tool for the job as necessary. I was awarded MVP last year. I blog regularly. I've got an aka.ms as well. My nomina is the CRM Ninja. Hence why everything has the CRM Ninja at the end of it. It's all about the branding. And I run a weekly interview series, well, almost weekly. Occasionally I skip a week, called the Oops Factor, where people come on to talk about the times when the shit hit the fan and lessons learned from it. And yes, and somebody is waving very eagerly on, I can see on one of my screens because he's coming on very shortly to it. And several people on this call have already been on it. And if anybody else wants to come on, feel free, drop me a line and let me know, reach out through any of the social things. So this is the agenda for this evening. I had great fun playing with the design templates available within PowerPoint. I thought, sod it. I'm not a graphics person. I'm going to use some suggested graphic layouts. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk through crap customer service, and then I'm going to move on to awesome customer service, go on a bit about omnichannel, the benefits that it brings, some of the capabilities in it, quick replies, mobile chats, real-time translation, new things coming this year, end off with questions. I might even be daring enough to throw in a live demo along the way. We may have someone standing by to pretend to play a customer, actually to be a real customer. So I want to start off by talking about crap customer service, and this is something that I run into time and time again. And if we think of the last year, it really ties in with that. And the expression on this lady's face really is what I feel. But unfortunately, at the end of a phone, I can't, sort of the most expressive thing I can do is slam it down or just disconnect the call with great force without breaking my phone. If we think of people who booked travel in 2019 and early 2020, and then the pandemic hit and they needed to cancel their travel, and they got on the phone and they waited for hours and hours on end until they got through to somebody. If they were lucky enough to get through to somebody, then they said, you need to send an email. We can't do it over the phone. Or in some cases, you have to send a letter. So they did that. And then they went to follow it up, and they called up again, 3 weeks after sending the email and saying, well, where's my refund? I need to know where it is, and all the rest of it. And they said, oh, we can't see the email that you sent because it's in a different system. You're talking with the people on the phone, you're spending a lot of time, you're wasting a lot of time. Now, it's not just over the last year. If I think of certain financial institutions whereby you contact them, some of them still require things to be faxed into them, would you believe? But you call up and the call center doesn't have access to the system that you've sent emails to because it's gone through to a different team. And you can't speak to that team because they're not customer facing. But the person you're talking to can only send a request, an internal request to the team to see if they can review it. They can't pull up the information. So you're sort of stuck in a bit of a catch-22, and invariably you get really, really frustrated and really annoyed, and you start swearing that you're going to move away from the company. In fact, you may even just start swearing full stop at them. Fun fact, IVR interactive voice response systems, when it says please press 1 for this and 2 for that, right? Generally they're programmed, if you start using loud and harsh language, then they will transfer you to a human agent so that you don't get as frustrated. Don't know if that was turned off over the last year. You can look it up, the fact up online. A lot of systems, they don't want customers to feel very antagonistic by having to wait and getting very confused. That's a bit of better customer service. That's a customer service trick hack for those who want to try it out. It has worked when I've done it at times. But a lot of companies are very disparate teams in place. They'll have a web team handling web stuff. They'll have a social media team. They'll have a phone team. They'll have an in-person team. And they're using lots of different systems. And the experience when you communicate with them, because, look, generally we'll send emails or we'll log on to the company portal, onto their website, and we'll send messages through it. And we'll call. I call up occasionally. I find it to be much easier sometimes to call somebody and actually try and get a resolution. But the problem is when they can't see information that you've already sent in, or they can't sometimes, and this is even more ridiculous, see information that their colleagues have sent to you. If you say, I received this email on this date at this, with this time, and they go, oh, I can't see that in the system because it's from a different department. It's broken. It makes us very, very eager to avoid them in the future. They can lose our custom. It's really not the ideal customer service. It is, as it says, it's crap customer service, and all it does is serve to inflate our blood pressure and make us come off it and need to go and eat ice cream or go for a motorbike ride, or in some cases skydive in order to relax. I say that as a former skydiver myself. So not making fun of Paddy there. It's one of the things that we've bonded over ever since we met each other virtually, because we haven't actually yet met in person. That's still to come at some point. Anyhow, that's crap customer service. I'm sure that we can all identify with it at some point in our lives around how it goes. And it's not something that we like. And we swear, if there's somebody out there with better customer service, we will go to them. We'll transfer across. Sometimes even if we have to pay a slight penalty for leaving whichever service we are with, utility companies, for instance. If they keep sending us wrong bills and they keep taking money out of our bank accounts, the wrong amount of money, and by that I don't mean too little, but too much, and trying to get refunds, even though it cost you a bit to switch to somebody better, you would go and do it just for the ease of life that it would then give you and the ability to avoid issues. So then we come on to awesome customer service, and I had to put minions on this because minions are awesome. I am very English. I have a very English accent. I did study abroad with Americans for several years, but I like the word awesome. I don't say it awesome. I say awesome. And there are companies with awesome customer service. A classic example of this is Amazon. Now, probably most of us have an Amazon Prime account because, after all, we're watching Prime Video because we can't be bothered to buy anything else. Although now that they're charging us for the new releases, that gets a bit annoying. Amazon, you can call up on the phone, you can send a message to them, you can go on live chat. You can't unfortunately go in person because they don't have live places for you to go to because they have contact centers all over the world. But Amazon is amazing, usually. I'll caveat that because I have had some not quite awesome customer service from them, but they have access to all of your information. So number one, they can actually see all your purchase history, but they can see all the interactions that you've had both with them and with any third-party merchants that you've dealt with through Amazon. So if you've ordered something and it's been faulty from a third party and you're sending it back, they don't want to send it back, you can contact Amazon customer service, who will actually usually get it resolved for you. And they're KPI'd on their resolutions, so they like giving you resolutions because that then gives them good feedback and that. But it's a really, really great experience. There are some very classic experiences. I haven't put them up here, but there's that. But there was somebody who contacted Amazon via chat some years back, and the Amazon agent says, hello, and gives you, hello, whatever your name is, and says, how are you doing today? And this person responded and said, hi, yes, and I'm doing well, thanks. I've just watched the latest Thor movie. And the agent had watched it as well. And the customer then said, I'd like to talk as Thor. And the agent went, okay, I'll talk as Loki. And they proceeded to have a conversation, and you can look it up. The transcript is available online of this conversation between the customer and the customer service agent role-playing as to what they should do, using things like Valhalla as well in it and all sorts of Norse references. Now, you won't get this with all customer service agents, knowing Thor mythology in detail and Norse mythology in general, but this one did. I personally have had one whereby And I was working at an end user at the time, and we were putting in Dynamics for the customer service stuff. And actually, to screenshot my conversation, circled it internally because he was asking me how my day was going, and I said I'd gone to the supermarket and such because I was just randomly passing time. And we ended up in a discussion of what fruit is better for you based on which country you live in. He was actually very knowledgeable about the types of fruits grown in different countries. And now we were saying, some people like citrus fruits, but citrus fruits are better for warm climates than cold climate. And it was really interesting. But it's about that customer service thing where it's not just about, I've got a problem, they've got a resolution. They're engaging you as a customer, and you start to feel loyalty to them because you think, great, I had that wonderful experience. He got resolved. He was really nice to me. Customer service agents being really nice doesn't always happen. Admittedly, but that doesn't happen with every single agent. Sometimes they can be a bit annoying at times, in my experience. Maybe I'm returning too many things, possibly. But in general, Amazon is a prime example of it. In fact, it's in one of their key beliefs or whatever they're called, key goals, is to deliver the best customer service on the planet. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact statement, but it's something like that. They go above and beyond. There are other cases you can look up and stuff in terms of customer service across things. Certain hotels which deliver over and above customer service. I know of a case whereby in the States whereby somebody checked into a very, very high-end resort hotel and realized they left their medication at home 4 hours away, and they mentioned this to the concierge, and the concierge called up his brother-in-law who lived half an hour away from this person's house and arranged that when this couple woke up in the morning, the medicine had been collected from the house and was there ready for them. When you get good customer service, this is what drives things, because especially in saturated markets, you want that good customer service experience. So with that in mind, we then turn to Omnichannel. And as I mentioned, Omni is everything, means coming in. And Omnichannel essentially is, if we think of organizations with disparate customer service where they have different teams and different systems in place, there's no connection between the systems. Data is held within silos. Or if people are using multiple systems, they need to be cross-trained. Now, think how long it takes to cross-train somebody who is not very IT literate in one system. Then think of how much time it's going to take them to train in half a dozen systems, entering the same data possibly in different formats, in different ways, copy and pasting. It's not particularly efficient. What Omnichannel does is Microsoft saw the need for customer service and live customer service. Very important that. It's not about emails. This is about live interactions. And they built an interface whereby the agent is trained on the single interface. And everything through all of these different items here, whether email or chat or messaging, SMS, social media, all of it comes into the same interface. The customer can come in through whichever system they want. The agent sees it all in the same system. So the benefits of this are we save on-time training. We don't need to worry about training across multiple systems. We don't need to worry about upgrades and each system changing layouts as new features come in. We have one system. We can develop on one system further. Agents can see all of the data in one place. They also don't need to copy and paste between things or between spreadsheets or emails. It's all saved in one single system. You can start reporting on it. This is what Omnichannel for Dynamics 365 or whatever the latest name thing that they call it, because marketing loves changing the naming conventions, as we all know. Common data service to Dataverse, for instance, just as an aside. But these are the benefits that it brings. It's one system. You can look at proper master data management. You can look at a holistic view of your customer across all of the interactions that you have with them, regardless of what channel it comes in with. Now, there's some other benefits as well. So if we think about automated responses, so there are a couple of different sorts of automated responses. We have, of course, the hello, good day, my name is XYZ, and how are you doing, and how may I help you? If they have to type this every single time, 250 times a day, they're probably going to get RSI. So there's the ability to automate things like that and use macros to put in the agent's name and stuff. But if we're contacting an organization, we also need to know if they're around or not. So I took this picture on Larry's barber's door. This showed the opening hours. It doesn't show Sunday because I cropped it off, because this past Sunday was special for Larry when he went blue-haired in aid of charity. If anybody hasn't yet donated to his charity thing, by the way, shout out to Larry. Check him out on Twitter with his hair gone all blue. He's taking donations for I think it's brain something. Don't remember the details of it. My brain's absolutely fried after today. But it shows the opening and the closing times. Now, I might be an early bird. I might be a late bird. I might want to contact the organization outside of their regular operating hours. Now, if I call an organization that says, please wait, your call will be answered, and I'm on hold, and I'm on hold, and I don't know where they are. I don't know if they're looking at the phone ringing thinking, another customer, we're just going to let him hang, or whether they've gone down to the pub garden for a pint. Obviously, they're not allowed in the pub yet. This is really annoying. If I'm left on hold, or if I'm left on web chat, and it says you are next in the queue, or you're number 3 in the queue, and I'm number 3 in the queue for 2 hours, obviously somebody isn't there at the other end. I want to do this. I don't do this to my laptop because I have quite an expensive laptop, and if I did that, my manager probably wouldn't be too pleased. But I get really frustrated. But what we have is the ability for the communication channels coming in. We can look up things like customer hours. It's not customer, company hours. So companies can set their hours of opening and closing. They can set if they're away or not. And when I then communicate, I know at that point what the situation is. I'm not frustrated that I'm left around hanging, waiting to see if somebody's actually going to respond to me or not. There are a couple of things I can also put in a different method. So if it's out of hours, because it's not, it's a local company, for instance, not an international company, which usually would have around the clock. If it's a local company, I could say, please send an email. Here's the email address for it. Or I could divert to a Power Virtual Agent, for instance, to try and self-serve. So a variety of things that are able to do it. I'm also, as I mentioned, able to use what we call personalized quick replies. And that's because one size does not fit all, no matter what the label says at times. Now, quick replies are useful, again, like, hello, welcome, I am I am EY, here to help you today. It's great. But if we think of organizations, they could be general organizations, they could be very specific organizations specializing in technical things. They don't want to type things, as I said, the entire time. They also may want to put, each agent may want to personalize what they're actually doing and have everything. So what it has is the ability with personalized quick replies to be able to personalize the service for each agent within the system. And agents can set up their own sort of personalization things that they can then use. Now, I know a couple of people on this call, right? And the age range I would say is not teenage on this. I think it's slightly older than that. I definitely am having my birthday in a couple of months, but I will be over my mid-30s. Gosh, 36. Well, I guess the second number is double the first number, so it's a good figure. But if we think of what I would usually refer to as the younger generation, they've moved away from the concept of desktops and laptops in the first instance. They are mobile first. They're on now. Of course, mobile phones vary in size. Some of them are absolutely small. Some of them could be basically a tablet almost. If we think of the Galaxy S20 Ultra or whatever one it was, they can be very large. But the younger generation is mobile first. If we think of 2019 to 2020, 83% of users used a mobile device to search the internet on. 42% of online transactions are done on mobile devices. Over half of websites, again, this goes back over a year. At that point, over half of all websites are using responsive web design technologies that work across all devices to be able to adapt it. Like what Jamie was saying before, for his session next time, the ability to switch from, tablet to phone and things automatically resizing. Websites do this nowadays because people are using mobiles. I use a laptop as well, but I use my mobile a lot of the time. Mostly because I can't be bothered to take a laptop into bed because my wife gets fed up with the amount of tech I have around the place anyway. More than 3/4 of shoppers use mobile devices along with physical shopping. Think about when you go in the supermarket, you're comparing prices. You're not lugging a desktop or a laptop with you. You're scanning a barcode on your mobile phone on one of these price comparison websites and saying, oh, hold on. Now Tesco's got these chocolate Easter eggs for half the price. I'm going across the road to Tesco. I'm not going to spend this in Sainsbury's or whichever supermarket you may be at. Also, reviews. You're browsing in the supermarket, and obviously things have been limited over the last year or so, but when you're browsing in shops, you want to see your reviews on it. Is this a good product or not? We're very used to the concept of Amazon being able to see user reviews. In the shop, you can't see that. You grab a salesperson on the shop floor and you say, is this Hoover good? How well does it, pick up stuff? And they go, it's amazing. It could pick up a bowling ball and hold it in midair until your power cuts out. Yeah, they're going to tell that to you because they want the sale. But how do you know which model is better for your specific purposes? You want to see reviews. You want to see ratings of it. Which, for instance, there's reviews of technology and stuff. You're going to use a mobile phone for it. So companies want the ability to be able to communicate via mobiles. So what Omnichannel has is the ability to either load up in a browser and you can have a chat directly into a customer service agent, or if we think a lot of brands and companies nowadays have their own app. There's the Amazon app, of course. Boots have their own app. Halfords, I think, are coming out with their own app. Lots of companies have their own app that's out there. And we now have the ability whereby we can code through a pro developer friendly interface. It's a bit more pro developer than citizen developer, but we can code widgets directly within our own bespoke applications, where then we can click contact support and it will open up chat, and that chat will then flow through, which is really great and amazing. Now, I mentioned local companies and international companies, and especially if we think of the way that companies have needed to adapt over the last year or so on an international basis, with people working in remote locations and transferring things across. International companies have an international company base, and we have the ability for real-time translations. We can communicate from the customer in one language, automatically translated into different languages. This is through the power of Azure or Google, or several other providers as well, which provide the capabilities for translation. Microsoft doesn't just restrict it to that. So to Azure, to the Microsoft space. Now, it's not only customers to agents, but if an agent, say in the UK, needed to transfer something to an agent in Brazil, and the UK agent didn't speak Brazilian and the Brazil agent didn't speak English, they can have their conversation automatically translated, and it does it on the fly. So these abilities enable international-based organizations to be able to serve customers internationally, or even small organizations which don't have an international presence but would ship internationally. Say I'm shipping something to Japan, they may not speak, my customer may not speak English, but they can communicate with me typing in Japanese, and it renders in English for me, and I can type in English and it renders in Japanese for them. So this is something that agents are able to do as well. It's also, I love when I put this up because everybody moans about compliance, but compliance is really important. If we think of things like GDPR, which most people on the call hopefully will be familiar with in one aspect or another, we need to be compliant with our data and ensure data controls. If we have multiple systems that are in place, well, we need to put controls in on all of them. And how, when we get audited, especially by external auditors, and say, where's your documentation around your control guides and your auditing and stuff, and your compliance, and you have to bring out lots and lots and lots and lots of documentation, which you obviously have to create in the first place, and each system is different. You start stacking up lots of piles of paper for them to start reading through. But because we're taking all the information down into Dynamics 365 into Power Platform, we have the granular security controls and the compliance abilities within Power Platform itself. So we only have one system that we need to worry about to be able to show that we're compliant. Again, it doesn't matter how the customers come in. We don't need to say that Facebook is compliant with us. We just need to say the customer is contacting with us and we're storing their data securely. So what I'm going to do now is, hopefully this will work, is I'm going to do a live demo. So this, I'm going to see where we drag in. This is what Omnichannel looks like. This is the initial agent interface. Got dashboard available if there are chats in place. We've got work items we've been working on. It's quite simple. We also have the ability to see some other dashboards for supervisors, so supervisors can see some metrics and whatever. But I think we've got somebody standing by who is going to raise a chat. So we'll just wait and see what happens. I've got my little green icon over here, so I am online and available for anybody who wishes to communicate with me at this point in time. And we're going to see how this goes. I am hoping that this actually works. I did sacrifice something earlier. I just can't remember if it was one of my children or not. There we go. We have a chat. It's coming actually from a bot. So we got a chat request coming through. Now, also the wonder about Omnichannel is because agents need to be able to do things. So they'll respond to a customer, but then the customer needs to respond back to them. So they can handle multiple conversations at the same time and flick between them. And again, it doesn't matter where this one has come from. So visitor 1 came through Facebook. Visitor 3 has come from a mobile thing. So I can now type, I could say, hello, which goes there. Or alternatively, I also have quick replies available to me, which I can scroll through. And the one that I want is that one. I don't need to type it. So we'll see what the customer says. Oh, see, customer is typing. Now, I don't actually have translation working at this point because when I did this earlier today, the translation bit crashed. Otherwise, I could show you the actual translation. Oh, I hear you. Yeah, so they've heard that I sold safety gear. So if I type the thing, as you can tell, I can't speak and type properly at the same time because that's multitasking, and I'm absolutely crap at multitasking. So again, we've got lots of chats which have been putting there. This one puts the agent name in here. Is there a specific question? Is there a number of other things? Now, I need help at goggles. Now, at the moment, this is a new customer, and I happen to know that this customer is somebody who's been here before. So what I need to do is I'm going to find the customer. Here we go. Right, it's Brian Smith. I think it was Brian Smith. So I can connect it with Brian Smith. Now, what I can see is then I can see the email address that's there. I could see phone number. I'm also able to see other information. So if I look at the visitor details, they're not authenticated. They're running Edge. See some metrics. But I can see all my previous conversations and my previous interactions that I've had with them. So these could be emails that have come in. So for instance, if Brian had turned around and said, yep, I sent an email 2 weeks ago and I'm still waiting for a response, I could find it. I can also switch across. I have the ability to link knowledge base articles. Hopefully this one will come up. This one was being a bit finicky earlier on, but I can search if there's a problem and have knowledge base in here. Let's see if I've got any in here. Right, so here we go. So I can search for something if it was damage or defect and I can bring it up. What I could then do is I could then send the customer the URL to it and they would then get it back. I have search engine available in which I can use a search engine. I can connect to other systems as well in tabs in here. And this is again per this customer. If I switch to visitor 1, all those other tabs, well, they're still there, but they're not the same ones. They're not the same information. If I switch back to Brian Smith, what I can then see is, again, I've got all of the information here around it. I also have sentiment tracking at the top, which is currently is neutral. So if Brian Smith would turn around and say, for instance, this is awesome customer service, then what we could see is the, oh, fine, okay, they're telling me to hurry up. That's still neutral, actually. Right, okay, fine. Let me see. So, oh, hold on a moment. What's this? So this is something as well around compliance. As you can see a thing of hashes on the screen. And the reason being is we can use data masking. We can use data masking in a variety of things to protect ourselves against, for instance, capturing credit card numbers when we shouldn't be capturing credit card numbers in an insecure system, because it would then get saved in the database, and that would be a breach of the credit card control legislation. But for instance, if the customer had decided to start swearing, what we can do is we can load a list of swear words into the system, and it will then blank them out. Now, it doesn't just blank it out for me, it blanks it out into the database itself. And interestingly enough, the customer actually will see that it will change it on their interface as well. So they can see that it's swearing on their side. I do wonder what they are saying at this point. Oh, right, they're saying right. So, okay. I apologize to me. And so we can see this has now changed into being slightly negative up here at the top. Although they did apologize, I would have thought that would be more positive. Anyhow, so this basically shows how the interface goes. And depending on the level of the agent, we can set them up to be able to have a lot more availability. So they could handle, for instance, say 3 at a time or 5 at a time. But again, this could, oh, okay, slightly positive. I love you, EY, right? I want to be very positive in there, right? I'm just going to say thank you. This is the point probably where compliance would turn around and say, is this an inappropriate conversation with the customer, and probably pull me up for it. But again, the customer comes in through, doesn't matter what channel it's coming in from, although I can see it. This could be from Facebook, it could be through Instagram, it could be through WhatsApp. The customer sees it on their device, on their system, in the way that they're interacting, and they'll see everything going back. All I'm seeing as a customer service agent is this single interface, single screen. I've got the ability to see all the information. I can even turn around and open up the customer record to see further information about it. So anything that's related. So I worked in a financial services institution, so we could use this to take a look at all the other details that are there, such as their accounts information and other things like that. So this shows you sort of the benefits of a single system, single interface that's run within a browser. So you don't need any special software for it, and shows you what is able to be done. Now, there was the live demo, which seems to have worked pretty well. So let's now get rid of that window and go back to the presentation. Now, we obviously have had the details around the Wave 1 2021, and the team for this have been looking at customer service and seeing what else can they do, because there are ISV products, third-party products, that integrate with Omnichannel. So for instance, if people wanted voice calling, there are several third-party products that would put widgets into that interface and allow you to dial out and other things to dial in. But the data was held, again, within that third party, needed to be synchronized across. So Microsoft looked at the scene and said, hold on a moment, people are saying they want voice. Let's go ahead and put voice in. So this year is coming out the voice channel. And when it does, I'm going to have lots to write about because it's absolutely awesome. I haven't yet, even with the connections that I haven't yet managed to be able to wangle myself a trial of it. I keep sending them emails every week. I don't know if I should send them chocolates instead. Maybe I should stop sending them emails and then they'd actually do something. But the voice channel will allow people to call in and agents to call out. Now, it's not, I can't say this with certainty, I don't believe that agents will be able to handle multiple phone calls at one time. 3 phone calls at one time I think is going to be a bit intense, so it would just take the agents at full availability up. But it will allow people to contact via phone and come in, and then the data is held within Power Platform itself, within Dynamics 365, which allows us to do analytics on it. It will also have benefits of, we will be able to record directly into the platform, and that recording is likely to be stored in the backend on Azure because of storage capabilities and costs and things like that. Not only will it be able to be recorded, there will also be the ability for chat transcription in a live manner. So it's possible for the agents to see a transcription of the call itself. You don't need to go ahead and listen to it. This again will be something that will be absolutely great, when you're coming through afterwards and you don't need to wade through reams and reams of phone calls, or if you're doing analytics on conversations and seeing sentiments. And there's also going to be some much better analytics around it. So we've seen a bit of the analytics, so we've seen a sentiment gathering, for instance, where it shows us the sentiment of the call, of the caller, but there's going to be a lot more analytics that are going to be coming in with it. So that really is where I want to wrap up in terms of Omnichannel and ask, are there any questions?